So we are starting with the topic of matrices. So what is a matrix? In mathematics, a matrix is a rectangular shaped, and they said like an array of numbers. So if you look at this, this is what a matrix looks like. So we've got different, it could have any sort of numbers and it can be any shape, but in terms of, could be a rectangle, could be a square. That one's a square. Why do you think I'm saying this one is a square? Why do you reckon I'm saying that? Yeah?
Because it has four numbers.
Yeah, so it's got, would you say because I've got 2 rows there? Can you see that? 2 rows. And do I have the same amount of columns? Yeah, and I've got 2 columns. So if I have what we call that, and then when we describe the shape of the matrix, we call it the order. So if you look here, I'm saying that the shape of the matrix is the order. So the shape of matrix is the order. So when you talk about the order, so we need to know, so first of all, we get these matrices, they're in these square brackets, and they're a particular size or shape. So when you talk about what type of shape it is, you say the amount of rows first and then the amount of columns. So here they're telling you would say what it is. So this one up here that I've drawn up here, how many rows does it have? So these are rows. So I've got row 1, row 2. So how many rows have I got? 2. And then you write by. So that's the way we say that. We say 2. And then how many columns have we got? 2. So I've got a 2 by 2. You know when you have a photo frame and they say a 5 by 7? Yeah? That's the language they're talking about. So I've got a 2 by 2. So if you look here, can you see we've got 1, 2, 3 rows and 2 columns. So can you see I'm saying that's a 3 by 2? Yes? So you need to remember always when we ask you what the order is, we're just asking you what the size is. And it's rows and by columns. So I'm going to pause it because I don't want this. Okay, continuing on with the video. So rows always got to go first, yes? Okay, now if you have a look, so if I draw up another matrix, I'm going to draw one up here. I'm just making these numbers up. What type of order do you think this one is? What is this one's order? Good, so we've got 2 rows and 3 columns. All right, so I call that row 1, row 2, column 1, column 2, column 3. These individual numbers, like there, and there, they're called elements. So if you think about this one, how many elements has this one got? Yeah, good. So this one has 6 elements in it. All right. Now, if I want you to go to, now we often call the matrices a name. So I might call this matrix, I'm going to call it matrix H. That's what it is. If I want you to go to a particular element in the matrix, I want you to look at this number and tell me, I might later on when we have practical application, I might say, what does that number mean? So I want you to go find a number. So if I say matrix, go to H, and I might say 2, 2. What that means is I want you to go look in matrix H, and I want you to go to, this will tell you what row to go to, and this is telling you what column to go to. So if I say that, and I said, can you tell me what element is H2, 2? What one is it? Good. So you've gone to row 2, column 2, and you've got number 3. So that is a little way of explaining how it is. So if you have a look at, if we have a look at this example up here, they said look at the above example. See how they've called it matrix A? So they want me to go to row 3, which is down here, column 2. So what is the number? -4. All right. So when they talk about they'll talk about defining that element. They just use, can you see here, they use I and J. So really what I tells us, we now know, I is the spot that tells us the row, and J is what tells us the column. All right. Okay, so we're going to move to page. So we have different types of matrix. So that just means the different shapes, we give them a different name. I actually already have done this one with you, didn't I? I said a square matrix. So see how they're saying order NN down there? Well, we know that meant same amount of rows as columns, yeah? Same amount of rows and columns. So if you have a square matrix, it's always going to be like a 2 by 2, or you could have a 3 by 3, a 4 by 4, etc. Yeah, it's always going to be the same number. So that's one type. Now, if you only have a single row, so a single row, so can you see there's just one row? That's called a row matrix. And obviously, if you just have a single column, just the one column, so you can see there, one column, that's called a column matrix. Pretty self-explanatory, yeah? So I might say, here's 3 numbers, represent them in, so say for example, I might go, I might say, here's 3 numbers, just making these up, represent them in a column matrix. So I'll just go like this, 3, 8, 9, yeah? That's a column matrix. So they're the type of things, why do we need to know them? Because they might ask me to put the data or the numbers you've been given into a particular matrix. So we know that. We're going to learn how to enter matrix into the calculator. This one is more how to define it if you have to use the one particular matrix a lot of times. It's not, I don't think you'll use this a lot. So I'm about to flick over to the computer now and show you on the calculator. So that won't be on the video.